I was born in Pasco, Washington in 1946. About a year and a half after I was born, we moved back to Minnesota. Dad wanted to stay in Washington and Mother wanted to be with family, so we came back to Minnesota. And our dad worked at a dry cleaning company in Cambridge, Minnesota for about 2 years. And then we bought the farm where I grew up and moved there. 3 years later, my sister was born, and then my brother 3 years after that. And so we lived on the home farm until my dad sold it roughly 15 years ago, something like that. And it was a small 40-acre farm. We had very few animals. We had 5 milk cows, some chickens. So by any definition, we were very poor farmers. On the 40 acres, we grew just about everything. My mother had a huge garden. We lived on that all winter long. And the chores on a daily basis consisted of getting up at 5 in the morning, milking the cows, then going to school and coming home, and about 5:30 milked them again. And so it wasn't real exciting, but it was what we had to do. And in between that time, we worked in the garden and then helped my dad out in the field. I was about 10 years old when I started driving tractor, and then when I was 12 years old, I started driving tractor for farmers of the neighborhood, and they paid me 35 cents an hour, which I thought was great at the time. Went to school in Glendorado, Minnesota. It was a small one-room schoolhouse, one of the last in Minnesota before they consolidated and made everybody go to a town school, as we called it. But there was grades K through 8, and I had 5 classmates. That was the biggest class we had. And then in 5th grade, I went to a parochial school for 1 year. And after that, I went back to Glendorado again because of some misunderstandings I had with the teacher. Well, I wasn't behaving. So the thought was, boy, if we send him to a Christian school, this will straighten him out. Everybody said that, so every bad kid in the neighborhood went to the Christian school. And I learned a lot, but it was not a good influence on me. And in 7th grade, I got in a little more trouble with some other kids. We were fooling around too much. And so the superintendent of the country school visited my folks and said, if he doesn't straighten out, we're going to send him to Princeton Town School. And so that helped. That straightened me out for a while. One interesting note that led to my being removed from the parochial school was at lunch, we had an hour recess. And at that time, me and 3 other boys went way out in the woods. We were probably a mile from school. And the poor teacher, this was her first year of teaching, would stand outside the school with a small bell and ring the bell saying it's time to come in from recess. We couldn't hear that bell. And nobody had a watch, so we were always late, every day. And when you're late, you got to write a whole chapter from the Bible longhand and turn it in, so that was a lot of fun. Plus, if I had to stay after school, it was a 4-mile walk back home, so that kind of cured me for a while from misbehaving.
So did your dad then, if you got home late, you probably missed out on chores or anything?
No, they waited for me.
They waited to do it when you got back?
Yeah, and we had some problems there. We had a teeter-totter that could hold 8 kids, and we broke it. Broke it in half, and my dad was on the school board, so he had to repair it. So that didn't go over very big either. So anyway, I graduated from Glendorado School in 8th grade, went to Princeton High School in 9th grade through 12th grade, and did okay. I was not a star student. I didn't like studying at all. And so if it came easy to me, I was getting A's and B's. If it didn't, I was getting B's and C's. And one thing of note too, and I'm sure this is probably the only person that I've ever known that this happened to, was in one of my report card periods, I flunked music. And that's not from playing instruments, that was just a class, okay? And my dad said too, how can you flunk music? Anyway, so I did much better the next report card period I got a C.
Was it singing at all, or was it?
No, just history of music and that kind of thing. And it was really, really boring. So anyway, That's the only thing I flunked in all my years of school was music. Well, I always thought I wanted to be a reporter or in communications of some kind. So in high school, I took debate and liked English. Took that, and it kind of gravitated towards the school play every year. And I was the lead in the school play.
I think you've told me this.
Yeah, which was really fun because the leading lady was really a knockout, and I got to kiss her.
I remember you saying
And she went with a friend of mine, and so he was really upset. And the last night of the play, it was such a good play that they held it over another day for the general public. And so the last night, I knew this is the last time in my life I'm going to have to kiss this girl, okay? So I wouldn't let her go. I gave her a real long kiss as she was pushing on my chest. And the guy threatened some kind of bodily harm on me after the play. But anyway, I thought journalism, something like that, was what I thought I was good at. I always did A's and writing stories for the English class and so forth, and debate. I did good in debate. And that's what I thought I wanted to be. Obviously.
You like debating? That's weird.
Yeah, that was.
I'm sure you did.
And let's see. During the period of growing up, I was very active in the local 4-H club. I was president of the 4-H club, and excelled at exhibits at the fairs and stuff like that. I always got blue ribbons and all that stuff. So I enjoyed that because there was monthly meetings, and about every 2 months it was time for you to give some kind of a speech on what your subjects were you were taking in 4-H. And I liked that, so I did that and had a good time with that. My high school was pretty much uneventful scholastically. I just got through, and I wanted to get through it as soon as possible. But I really didn't think too much about after high school. I wasn't sure what college I was going to go to or what I was going to major in. So I went to a local college in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And so it was convenient because I also had a job in Princeton pumping gas while I was doing that, so I could do both. And I lasted about 1.5 years, and then I still hated studying, okay? So I said, no, I'm getting out of this. So I think what I'll do is I'll go, this is during Vietnam, I think I'll go fly helicopters. That sounds like a fun thing to do. So I took the test for flight school, got involved in an interview with a bunch of captains and majors, and I got selected to go to the Warrant Officer helicopter school. So I went in April of '66 for that, went through boot camp in Fort Polk, Louisiana, which was like the armpit of the world because it was so humid there that when somebody sent you stamps so that you'd write home, kind of a hint, the stamps would all seal, okay, that you couldn't use them. But anyway, so I did that and then got out of the service in '68 and got married in 1970. And worked at the Army Arsenal while I was doing that. I also went to school at the same time, night school at the U, and that was for journalism too. So then, after we had one kid, I wanted to go to broadcasting, so I took a broadcasting course and got my certificate in broadcasting. But I found out a little too late that if you're going to go into broadcasting, you're going to start really young because there's a million of them out there trying to make it big time.
So
And
on camera broadcasting, like
no, radio.
Oh, radio.
Radio.
I didn't want to make any old person jokes about what was broadcasting. So like on air reading news and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and mainly commercials. That was a big emphasis on doing commercials. So I got that, but I found out that you got to be about 20 years old to get started in a small town radio show, and then work your way up. So that never materialized, so I didn't do that.
What kind of stuff did you like to write about?
Mainly fiction.
Yeah?
I enjoyed writing about sea stories and people doing it the hard way back in the early part of our country, making a living, all that hard scrabble type of living they had to do, because I've always been interested in history along with journalism. And so I thought that's what I wanted to do. But then you have another kid, okay, and then you go, I gotta start making money here. And so what I did was I was working second shift on a steel company, doing broadcasting school, and working as a caretaker in an apartment complex, and working at a grocery store. I did all those, that was every day I did that, so I didn't get much sleep. I did that for probably a year and a half, and then I started dropping off some of those things. When I got out of service and worked at the Arsenal, I mentioned to you, I used to buy no-dos by the buckets, okay? I lived on no-dos because that was a third shift job, and I was a single guy, okay? Which meant that you wanted to go at night. Oops, I needed some rest. Oh, I forgot about that, okay? So you pop a couple no-dos and get through the night like all wired. And I realized after a year of that, that's gonna kill me. I can't keep doing that. So anyway, I stopped doing the no-dos and pretty much got tired the rest of the time I worked there.